Hi, I'm Colleen. Let's talk about some long weekend reading. Hi, if you're new here, I talk about books and writing, and today I'm going to talk about what I'm going to read over Memorial Day weekend. This isn't going to be like a vlog because I have 4 little kids. Our weekend is going to be pretty busy, and trying to carve out time to talk about what I'm actually reading will take away from what I'm reading. So I'll just film like a wrap up at the end of this long weekend, but I thought I'd go over with you what I'd like to read. I was reading so much at the beginning of the month in May. I bought a ton of new books to kind of get me through to August, and I was super motivated and read 4 really quickly. And then I kind of petered out a little bit, and so I'd really like to finish the end of the month strong. And so I've got today's Friday, and then this long weekend, there's no school or anything on Monday. My kids have a half day today, though, so I will be with my children in about 2 hours. But my kids aren't babies, so I can read when they're around. The one negative that is probably going to make it that I don't read an absolute ton like I usually do on a long weekend is that the weather this weekend's supposed to be pretty awful. So there's not going to be the whole, like, sit in my backyard and read for like 4 hours, which I love to do. But Memorial Day weekend, you know what? I got married on Memorial Day weekend. It was like 50 degrees and pouring. I had my first baby over Memorial Day weekend. It was 43 degrees when he was born. His birthday is tomorrow. And so I do have a lot of stuff going on this weekend, and the weather won't be great, but I'm hoping to get some of this stack done. So let's, without further ado, just get into it. I'm currently reading The Mistress of Rome by Kate Quinn. I'm on page 242 out of 466. So I have about 220 pages left, and I'd really like to finish this. It's taken me a little longer to read this than I thought it would. It is about multiple characters living in the 1st century of the Roman Empire. And our narrators are Thea, who is a slave, who has a beautiful singing voice, Lepida, who is a high-born woman who at the beginning owns Thea, Arias, who is a gladiator, and then there's a couple other characters that aren't as main of characters. Those are our 3 main ones. I'm really loving Thea's portions, and the gladiator portions are okay, but Lepida, however you're saying her name, is such an awful human that reading her narration is kind of a struggle for me, because all I keep thinking about is how badly I want something horrible to happen to her, which probably won't happen for a long time, especially because I still have over 200 pages left of the book. But so I'm really hoping that I can finish this weekend. I'm going to try to get a big chunk of this read today, maybe try to finish it tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. Next, a few nights ago, I just started Home of the American Circus by Allison Larkin because I had forgotten Mistress of Rome downstairs and I wanted to read before I went to bed, and I didn't want to get out of bed. So I'm only on page, 20, which is the beginning of chapter 4. And I'm liking it. I'm not going to finish this weekend. It's quite long. It's, 422 pages. But I'd like it if I could maybe get 100 pages read. Or if I'm really enjoying it, 150, just so I get a little bit more of a chunk of it done. So I'll feel like I can finish it before June 1st. I don't know if I actually will, but it would be great if I could. I've been reading a lot of long books this month. So it is definitely making it so I'm not going to have as big of a wrap up as I thought I would, but I am reading some ones I was really wanting to read. And then lastly, this is mostly just if I don't really feel like reading either of those, or if I finish Mistress of Rome and then Home of the American Circus is not speaking to me. I have The Bombshell by Darrow Farr. I got this from Book of the Month. It's another chunky book. It is, it's not, 406. That's odd. That looks like much longer than 406 pages to me. I would have guessed that was 475. This is about a woman who I think gets kidnapped by a revolutionary group and then becomes the face of the revolution. So it sounds pretty interesting. And it takes place in Corsica, which I've always wanted to visit. So I can visit it this May and June. This one, I don't know if I'll actually be able to finish it before the month is over, but it's on deck. Those 3 are the 3 books I'd like to finish before the month is over. We'll see if it happens. At least I'll get a portion of all of them read. And that's all I'm gonna say for now. I'm also currently doing a like proofread for one of my friends whose book is coming out quite soon. So that I will put that up on my wrap up because it's gonna be out this summer. You can like buy it and everything. And I am gonna get a big chunk of that done this weekend also. That's called Common Thread by Jenifer Lynn. And that's a contemporary romance, which is set during a blizzard on a like a ranch. And it's very cute. I've already read it before, like when it was in its infancy. It's book infancy. But now I'm just doing a proofread, which is basically like reading the actual book, because all I'm doing is like looking for commas. So, and there aren't many. So those are my reading plans for the weekend. I also have some writing work I'd like to get done. I also will have my kids home with me. And today I told them I'd take them to see the Minecraft movie, even though my oldest already saw it. They all really wanted to see a movie today. The only other kid movie that's showing in the theater near us is Lilo and Stitch, and my oldest doesn't want to see Lilo and Stitch. We're at a weird spread right now. He's turning 12 tomorrow, and then I also have 7-year-olds. So the 12-year-old wants to go see the new Mission Impossible movie, which the 7-year-olds can't handle. So we're going to go see the Minecraft movie. Tomorrow we're going to celebrate my son's birthday. Sunday we're having some of his friends over. Monday I'm going to read all day, and hopefully I'll sprinkle in some reading some other days. But for now, I've got about 2 hours till my kids get home. So I am going to quickly work, maybe go for a walk, and then let the weekend begin. I'll check in with you on Tuesday. Hi, it's Tuesday morning. I did no check-ins, like I said I wouldn't. And now I can tell you everything I read over Memorial Day weekend. My kids are all back at school. It's very cold and rainy, and it's been cold and rainy here pretty much the whole weekend. It was never above 60. And on Saturday, which was my oldest's birthday, I took him to the lake, and he put his feet in, and he was like, it's freezing, because it was. I did not put my feet in. I didn't want to take off my socks and shoes. I had a jacket on, but I did do quite a bit of reading, not as much as I hoped. It just gets busy, and you're kind of, I don't know how to explain it other than when it's not nice out, I don't get as much reading, and I'm not sitting in the backyard while my kids play, enjoying a book. Doesn't hit the same as being in the living room while the kids play and are much louder. So I did finish Mistress of Rome by Quinn, which was the number one thing I wanted to do. So I was very happy about that. And I'll give you a quick review. This book has multiple narrators, but you have 2 first-person narrators. And they are Thea, who is a Jewish slave, and she is one of the very few survivors of, I'm never going to pronounce it right, Masada, which is a historical event in which this town that was made up entirely of Jewish people was under siege from Rome, and they decided, rather than surrender and all go into slavery, to have like a mass suicide, including children. And the very few people survived, but there is historical accounts of people surviving. The book, The Dove Keepers by Alice Hoffman, which is one of my favorite books, is also about this historical event. And Thea is one of the few survivors. She's immediately sold into slavery. And she is working kind of as like a lady's maid for this girl named Lepida. They're around the same age when the book starts, which is like 14, 15. They're pretty young. And then Lepida is our other narrator. We follow them for a long time. I want to say like 15 to 20 years. You watch as they become older and they go their separate ways, etc. There are also some third-person narrators. Arius, who is a gladiator, who plays a very important role in the relationship between Thea and Lepida. And Marcus, who is a senator, and his son Paulinus, and I'm trying to think if there's any other. Marcus's daughter Sabina is a small narrator. She doesn't have a huge part, and you get a little POV of the Emperor Domitian. Those are your main characters. I didn't like this book as much as I thought I would. I do think if I had read this, I was really, really into the Roman Empire for a long time. I took an entire class on the Roman Empire, which I loved. And then I got really into the HBO show Rome and the Starz show Spartacus. I really liked both of those shows. I will say this book swings more similar to Spartacus. There's a lot of gladiatorial stuff in it. And the characters who are bad have no redeeming qualities. I was thinking about that, how it was really hard for me to read Lepida's narration because there is not one thing about her that is redeeming in any way. She doesn't love her child. She doesn't have a friend who she cares about. She doesn't love her father. She's just selfish through and through, power hungry, wants to basically make everyone miserable except herself. So I had a very hard time enjoying the parts of the book that were under her narration. And I was trying to think, so in that way I also felt like it's more like Spartacus, because I was thinking about the like evil women in those shows, because both those shows had a lot of like evil women who were like powerful Roman women. And I was thinking about the character of Atia in Rome. She was very evil. She did horrible things, but you still sort of rooted for her in particular situations. Like you didn't want anything horrible to happen to her. I guess maybe at times you did, but not throughout the entire story. That is all to say, I think I gave this 3.5 stars. I liked it. I would have liked it if Lepida had one thing that made me not actively root for her to be murdered the entire book. There's a love story in it. There's more than one, but one of the love stories has a satisfying ending. It's part of a quartet or maybe even 5 books that take place in ancient Rome. I don't think I will read the rest of them. Maybe if I get like a really hankering to read a Roman Empire book in a few years, I'd pick up another one. But I didn't have that like, oh, I loved this book, I love the writing style or anything like that. But overall, it felt well-researched. The stuff that happened felt realistic. It was just the characters were more, like I really liked Thea, but I had a hard time with Lepida. If you love reading like a villain story that's a villain through and through, you probably like this book. And I didn't do that much reading otherwise. So let's quickly go over what else I read. I'm reading Home of the American Circus by Allison Larkin, and I got to page 50. So where I am right now is Freya has been living in Maine and working in a bar, and the book opens with her basically having a medical emergency at work and needing to get an appendectomy. And you see that she doesn't really have a support system. Like the only person she can call to pick her up from the hospital is her boss, who's like an obvious alcoholic and drunk when he gets there. And so you see that like her life's not going great there. And then she inherits the house of her estranged parents. So she decides to go home to New York and, I don't know, sell the house, maybe live there, whatever. When she gets to New York, she's like really spooked out because it looks like someone's living in the house. So she goes to her like childhood sweetheart's house, and they basically sort of oddly, they don't like hook up, but she like gets in bed with him, and he acts like they talk about the fact that she's been gone for 10 years, but he's very like welcoming, etc. And there's a lot of like, we're right back cuddling, sleeping in the same bed. Okay, so I was reading that and I was like, I don't want to read this right now because it reminded me so much of Every Summer After, I think is what it was called, by Carly Fortune, that I just finished like a week and a half ago. And I didn't really want to read another like adults rekindling their YA relationship. And so I'm going to finish this book this week, but just this weekend, I wasn't like, oh, I want to pick that up. Oh, I want to pick that up. It was very like, I don't know if I want to read that right now. I am going to finish the book, obviously, or at least give it to page like 200 to see if I like it. But it just wasn't really speaking to me that much. So like last night, I didn't really want to pick it up before bed. So I read something else. And that was The Bombshell by Darrow Farr. I didn't read very much. I got to page 24, which is one chapter. How it begins is, I'm not going to pronounce this main character's name right. Severine is a 17-year-old daughter of a like politician, like a French politician in Corsica. And it's 1993. And I did not know this about Corsica. There's a group in Corsica that wants to break off from France. So Corsica is an island that's kind of between France and Italy in the Mediterranean. And there's this like militant group, apparently more than one, because she's mentioned more than one, that want to break off from France and want to govern themselves. And she's lived this girl has lived a very pampered life. Her mom is an American poet. Her dad's a French politician. Her life sounds very cushy. And the first chapter, she's kidnapped when she's riding her bicycle by one of the groups. And so she's, at this point, very freshly kidnapped and kind of trying to figure out how she's going to be able to get out of this. She's not that concerned because there was a boy her age who was the son of a French politician who was kidnapped, and he was given back 24 hours later, and he was like, I basically just played Nintendo. But she's a little bit worried about the fact that she's not a boy and what that will mean for her over the next 24 hours. I think this will be pretty interesting. Again, I'm like, I don't know why I bought all these books with like these YA themes. I'm just like not in a mood to read about teenagers. I think part of it is because I just read Every Summer After, which I didn't know was going to be like 50% a YA novel. And I'm just not like a YA reader. So I think over the next week, I will read both of these books at the same time and kind of switch back and forth because they're going to have very different vibes. I think Home of the American Circus is going to be very like what it's like to go home again, you know, and hopefully won't have too many flashbacks to when they're teenagers. But I think the Bombshell is going to be more about Stockholm Syndrome, I assume, about her like becoming a part of this militant group because they've kidnapped her. And I think that will have a definitely different vibe. And then lastly, I've been very anxious lately, which is fine. I have a lot of anxiety. We've got school in here. We're going on vacation soon. There's just a lot going on. So my anxiety is high. So last night, right before I went to bed, I read a couple of Mary Oliver poems out of Dreamwork, even though I promised myself I wouldn't start this till June because I know I'm going to read it so fast, but I'm just going to count how many I read. I think I only read 2. Let's see, maybe 3. I read 3, and they were very good and lovely and relaxing. And I'll probably read a couple more tonight. I think maybe the key is I'm not going to let myself read more than like 2 or 3 a night so that I make it last, stretch it out towards the end of the month. So that is what I read over Memorial Day weekend. It's not the great wrap up I wanted to give you, but I did finish Mistress of Rome, which was the most important for me. It's been an interesting reading month for me because I did my huge book haul at the beginning of the month, which is very like, I get so excited because there's so many books I want to read. But then I get to like the end of the month and I got myself 3 book of the months, 2 of which were Home of the American Circus and the Bombshell. And I also got I think it's called The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. And so I'm like, oh God, it's pretty soon it's gonna be time to order my June book of the month books. And I need to get those May ones read. I can't have 3 unread from May and I still have 2 unread upstairs and then order more. So instead of reading a book that I really want to read right now, because I'd really like to read like Hamnet right now. I'd really like to read that. I feel like I kind of have to read at least one of those first. Hence why I'm going to push through those for the next, I don't know how many days we have left in May. What's today? Today's the 27th, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 5 days. So I can at least finish one of those and get a chunk read of the other. And then when June begins, get back to some of the other books I want to get to. If you're a big Memorial Day weekend reader, I love a long weekend to read. What did you read this past weekend? I mean, this only really works also if you live in America. I think also it might have been bank holiday weekend though also. I feel like I saw someone post that, which I thought it was earlier in May because I remember when I lived in London, bank holiday was like May 12th maybe, but that was, you know, over 20 years ago. So it was a long time ago. But if you had some good weekend reads, I'd love to hear about them. If you want to let me know you watched the video and don't want to write words, please send me a sunshine emoji so that maybe we can get a little sunshine here. I am tired of these cloudy, rainy days. Give me summer, I say, as I am about to head to the Pacific Northwest. As always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. I'll see you soon.